Hey everybody, Lee and Jim here with LG Speed and Custom, and in this video we are back on John's Fargo. Well, it's been a while since we worked on the Fargo. Actually, it's been a while since I've worked on the Fargo. I've been working on Steve's shoebox, and we've got that all finished up now. But while I was doing that, Jim was still working on the Fargo. In the last video we left off, we were waiting for parts for the front brake lines. Those parts came in. Jim made some brake lines. They're beautiful. They worked great. They hold fluid. They don't leak. Unfortunately, didn't film any of that because Jim was doing that and I was doing this. So, I'll take you around and I'll catch you up to date with everything that's happened since the last video. With the front brake lines done, the front end is back on. Jim and I literally just did that 30 seconds ago. He's bolting it down now. We've got tons of room up front, which we knew we would when we were measuring all this. So aside from the brake lines, Jim has been going to town inside. He's made new door panels, new armrests. He's upholstered the seat. He's made carpet. He's made a firewall pad. He's made a shifter boot, shifter ring. We've got all our pedals in. They're all hooked up. The steering column is back in. Signal light switch still needs to be wired. We've got kick panels that Jim made with some speakers in there. We've got a little subwoofer back here behind the original speaker grill. Glove box, Jim built all this, put that all in. So that's all good to go. He's been working on the headliner. We've held off on that for a bit, but he's probably gonna get back on that soon. Our brake system is fully bled. Our clutch is fully bled. We had a bit of a debacle with that. I don't know if you guys remember that cool little bracket that I built in here for the little slave to push on. Well, it turns out that that slave wasn't a push slave at all. It's a pull slave, which means it was going the wrong way. So this morning I reconfigured that and we got it going the right direction. Clutch works great now. I don't know how well you can see it, but basically I built another little bracket, the same as before, but this one bolts to the side case, or the side cover on the transmission. It's made out of 3/16 plate, and yeah, when you step on the clutch, this sucks together and pulls on our clutch fork. So that's all done and works now. Look at these great brake lines that Jim made, and battery cables. Awesome. So what's left on this thing? We still have to plumb the radiator, plumb the heater hoses, wiring. My friend Kevin, he flew in from Edmonton and he spent a week here and wired the whole truck with a whole new harness. However, he didn't do the front because the front clip wasn't on yet. So we got to finish wiring the headlights and stuff. The wiring is all there. It just needs to be routed and hooked up. Still got to build exhaust. And what else? I think that's about it. There's not a lot left on this thing. So yeah, this video, we're just gonna keep working our way through the list, checking things off and get it that much closer to driving out of here. Jim's got the front end all bolted on here and we lined it up considerably better than it used to be. So that's a plus. Got some heater hoses going. We got our fresh air duct in. Changed the upper thermostat housing from one that pointed that way to one that points this way and put a straight hose on there. Bottom one, Jim just made a 2-piece hose that works on there. Putting some coolant in it, some ice cube juice. So I've just finished wiring up this signal light switch. This is like an aftermarket style 7-wire universal signal light switch, and the wiring harness that Kevin put in this truck had a plug for a GM switch, which is pretty common with aftermarket wiring harnesses. So I've depinned it, figured out what wires do what, hooked them up. It bothers me because the wires are almost all the same colors as like the factory harness, or not the factory harness, but the aftermarket harness. But they're different. Like the green wire here hooks to the brown wire on here. The brown wire here hooks to the blue wire. So it bothers my OCD a little bit, but that the colors don't match, but it works. Turn our left signal light on and we got flashes going on there. We've got flashing going on up here. Jim replaced these sockets. They just had a single element socket, so they would only work for park lights, probably because this truck never came with signal lights from the factory. So he's replaced that socket with a setup for like an 1157 bulb. And when John brought the truck in, it had these wired in as turn signals, and they just stuck up on the bumper like that. So I couldn't do it. I just couldn't hook these back up. So we unbolted them, made the front park lights actually work the way they're supposed to. And now I got these for my 32. So that's awesome. The MSD system is all mounted, and I just finished wiring it in. It goes directly to the battery. That's the way MSD wants to wire it, so that's the way I'm gonna wire it. So I think, oh, I cleaned up all the signal light wires too. They're all tucked away nice and neat. But I think it might be ready to see if it'll test fire. Right, I'm gonna just crank it over with the key first to see if anything even happens. There's probably no fuel left in the carburetor because it's been sitting for months. We got oil pressure coming up. Nothing yet. Oh, yeah, we got oil pressure now. Both gauges are working. Okay, let's see if we got any fuel coming up to our fuel filter. Where'd our fuel filter go? There it is. Fuel filter's still dry. We got any other leaks happening yet? Nothing yet. Power steering looks okay. Coolant system's still okay. I'm gonna dump a little bit of gas down the carburetor and we'll see what happens. I think Jim and I pulled this engine out of John's El Camino in July. So that's the last time it ran. Aha! Cool, man. We got no major leaks. Well, no leaks at all that I can see. We've got oil pressure. We're charging. Gonna turn the power steering to the left, to the right, just to squeeze all the air out of the system. All right, gonna step on the clutch. Where's first gear? Second gear. Everything's working good. Let's try reverse. Cool. Never gets old, the first fire up. Just gonna see how our power steering is doing. It could use some more fluid. That's a good thing. That makes sense because once it fires up, it's gonna start pumping through the system and everything. Smells like old dust are burning off the manifolds and stuff. Rock and roll, man. Cool. Wonder if it's maybe time to put it on the ground. So it's going in. I was going to build exhaust originally for it, but I mostly build 2-inch exhaust systems, so that's the stuff I keep in stock. And I've got stuff for 2-inch and 2.5 inch, but I don't have anything for 2 1/4, which is what this is. And it's got to go in. It's booked in for a wheel alignment in a week. week and a couple days. So they're gonna just do the exhaust system there. Might as well just do it all in one. They can probably build new exhaust, because it's just gotta go from the manifolds to the muffler. They can probably build that cheaper than I can, because they have benders and everything. And the rest of the system is all just like galvanized, bent on a exhaust bender anyways, so it doesn't, I don't know, it just makes sense to have them do it. It's more economical. So, yeah, they're gonna do the exhaust then. Just put the air cleaner back on because everything seems to be fine in there. This was a complete running engine when we took it out, so distributor wise and stuff, like the timing should still be set from the way it was. Shouldn't have to really do any tuning. All we did is simply unbolt it from one vehicle and bolt it into the other. So before we put this thing on the ground, I want to put some horns on it. The original horn mounted right here, and obviously it's not going to work anymore, so we got to find a new home for that. And I'm thinking probably underneath somewhere. So I'm thinking maybe I'll just mount this horn right there. This is the rad support, or original, actually I guess this is the original front cross member. And we've got two holes right here that are already threaded, so we can probably just build a bracket that bolts in there, and then bam, put that in there. It's kind of out of the way. I was thinking over there originally, but then it's going to get all filled full of road debris, mud and gravel and stuff. So here it'll stay somewhat clean. I think that'll be okay. So I've put some plastic on here and marked out where our bolt holes are, and kind of marked out where this is going to sit kind of in there. So now we can take this and make a bracket. So using our template, I drew this up, which is just a little bit of a refined version. And now we can go ahead and cut that out. With that fitting on there, now we just need to make a bracket to bolt that onto a little tab that welds onto there. I cut that little tab out 1/4 inch, bolted it to the horn, held it up in place, and then I just put a couple tacks on it, pull it off, put it on the bench, and weld it up now. Yeah, our bracket's welded up, bolted back on, and wired it up, tested it, found out this horn doesn't even work, so that was just a giant waste of time, but we tried. E for effort. Should have tested it first, I guess. So, as an alternative, John brought these musical horns, which he's very excited about. So maybe we'll just hook that up to the horn button, because that'll be great when you're angry at someone in traffic, and then you're just fucking Yankee doodling. Get out of my way. Well, this thing doesn't work either. I hooked the battery charger up to it, and it was spinning for a minute, but it made some really angry, not happy sounds, and now it doesn't spin at all, and it smells really funny. So, I don't know. Who needs a horn when you got a big block Chevy? Well, the truck's ready to go on the ground, but before we do that, I'm just gonna cut out this little brace, and it's gonna go from the pedal assembly area on the firewall to the dash. I noticed when we were bleeding brakes, the master cylinders and the pedal assembly are flexing a little bit, so that should take care of that. bent this up and fit it in there and realized it's a little bit too wide to fit between our bolts here. So I made another one that's just a little bit slimmer. And it fits just like that. We can put a couple bolt holes in the bottom there going all the way through to the other side. And then it comes up to here and we can drill a hole and bolt it to the dash. It's right next to the steering column bracket, so I'm confident it should be plenty strong. Definitely stronger than what we have right now, which does work. I just noticed it's flexing and I don't want, dropped it on my camera. And I don't want that firewall piece that I welded in to eventually start cracking from flexing, over the years. So this is just a little preventative measure. A few years ago, my buddy Rick gave me a box of these really, really long drill bits. These are 1/8 inch, which are great for when you got to drill pilot holes in firewalls. Drilled these out to 5/16. Drilled another hole up here. We'll probably put a nice fat washer on that side. But in the meantime, we can go and powder coat this thing now. Make it nice and shiny black. "20 minutes later, ding, your muffins are done." All right, our brace is done. I'm happy with that. I think it should definitely help with the firewall flexing. Okay, I think we've reached the point in this build where we can put it on the ground and see if it moves under its own power. Need to go higher? Got a little bit of coolant leaking out of the overflow here, which is normal. But I think that's it for leaks. Steer's really nice. Shifter is going to take some getting used to. It's hard to drive like this because you can't hear anything going on inside. Stance is not bad. I measured it just before we drove it, and it had come down 2 inches from the original height. It didn't really settle all that much, 1/8 of an inch or so. So we'll call that a 2-inch drop, which I think is nice. John didn't want it super low. He wanted it to kind of look like a sleeper. So I think we've achieved that. Well, there we go. It's been 5.5 months since John dropped this truck off and we took it apart. It's got a big block Chevy in it now. It's got a T10 4-speed. It's got an IFS front end, power steering, disc brakes, new wiring harness. Almost has a new interior. Jim is just finishing up the headliner right now, but new seat, carpet, door panels. Put a backup camera in it as per John's request. There was a old hole here, I'm assuming for a license plate light, so there's a little backup camera in there. Put a Bluetooth stereo system in the glove box. Got a sub down there, 2 speakers there. There's speakers that go up in here on the panels that Jim has. So yeah, it's going to the exhaust shop on Tuesday for exhaust and a wheel alignment. And then I think this truck is done. So thanks everybody for watching. If you want to support the channel, please check out lgspeedcustom.com. Get yourself some LG Speed and Custom merch. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.